Hello everybody, welcome to Technique Tuesday. Today we're going to be making a center stair step card. It stands up with a fold in the middle, a stair step. This is how it looks. So it stands like this on the mantelpiece or the shelf of the person that you send it to. And this is how it folds flat so it fits in a regular envelope. So I made a holiday version with blues and whites and our lovely iridescent snowflakes. And then I made a red and green Christmas version using the Sweetest Christmas designer series paper. This is what we're actually going to be making today, slightly different version. We're just going to be making red and white monochromatic with the red and white candy canes, but I just wanted you to see a couple of samples. So this is how they look, this is how they stand up. So let's get going. So first of all, I need to give you the measurements. As always, of course, they'll be written in the bottom and there will be instructions, but I've already cut the one I'm going to use, but I'm going to show you on a piece of white. I just felt it was a little bit easier to see on the white cardstock. So using the paper trimmer, we do need the arm extended, and so that I don't stick my fat head in the way, I'm going to actually stand up to do this. So it's a regular piece of cardstock, 11 by 4¼ and we're going to start by making some cuts and then by making some score lines. So I've just realized I'm standing up next to where my camera is overhead for the shot, so if I'm yelling, sorry. So first of all, we're going to line it up at 1 inch, the long length at 1 inch on the paper trimmer, and then we're going to cut from 1 inch down to 6½ inches. And the good thing about the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer is wherever you start, you can just push the blade in and it will start cutting at that point. So using the blade, not the scorer, we're going to go from 1 inch down to 6½ inches. And there's a little line which shows me that it's lined up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move the paper across, because on a Stampin' Up! Cutting board there is a 1 inch on this side. Of course you could flip it over or turn it around, but just it's a little bit easier because I'm going to put it at the 1 inch on this side, and again I'm going to line it up at 1 inch and pop the cutting blade in and cut down to 6½ so it's the same on both sides and it's cut open. So then what we need to do, we're going to do some scoring at shorter lengths, but what I'm actually going to do is, while the arm is open, one of the score marks is at 6½, so I'm going to do that first. So because we've just been cutting blade out of the way, and we're going to use the scorer, and we're going to score from where that cut line shows us we need to be. From the score line, push the scorer in and go to the edge. We're not going to score across the cut part. So from the 1 inch up to the top, and then we're going to come down to where the bottom cut line is and score down. That's how we're going to do that. I'm just going to sit myself down so I can tuck the arm in, and then we'll go back to the other side. So we're going to score this at 1 inch, 2 inches and 6½ inches. So the 6½ inches we already took care of while the arm was extended. So now we're going to cut from the 1 inch, going to put the scoring blade in where the cut line is and score down, and go up to the other cut line and score up. And then we're going to go across to the 2 inch mark and do the same thing. We're going to put the scoring tool where the cut line is and go up, and then we're going to come to the bottom, press it down and score down. So we've got a score line at the 1 inch and the 2 inches from the cut line to the edge, and on the bottom from the cut line to the edge. And then that's what we did previously at the 6½ mark, where the cut line ends actually from the cut mark up to the edge, cut line at the bottom, down to the bottom edge. Then we're going to change tack. We're going to put the paper at 5.5, and we are going to cut in the middle. So we're not going from the edge down, we're going from the cut line to the cut line across. So again, the scoring blade has a little line so we can see we're at the cut line, and we're going to go as far as the cut line in the middle section. We need to do that, so where's the sample? We need to do that so we've got this part without it having a score line across. It looks complicated, but if you follow it step by step, it's actually quite easy. Must be easy because I can do it. So that's the cutting and scoring part taken care of. So what we would do next would be to the last mark we made across the middle. I don't know if it shows up so well in the lights. Fold that one, just that piece. And then the two on the outside, you have to fold these carefully because of course if you push them too hard you're going to make the crease go across. So just like that. Down at the bottom, the two marks that we scored at the 2 inches are actually going to go down. Doesn't matter if you score them up or you score them down, you can always fold them, you know, back on themselves and into place. And then this one at the bottom scores across. So eventually this is the shape that you end up with. I always like to rub it out, and then when it's flat, score them for sure in place. So again, just to go over that, the 2 6.5 score marks we fold down, the one across the middle we fold, and down at the bottom when it's like this you fold those two down. Valley folds and mountain folds for those of you who are good with the names of the folds. But we've got 2 downies, 2 uppies. Sound like belly buttons, don't they? So this is the shape that we need to make the cards. So this was the sample. Again, everything, the sizes and the folds and the best description I can give will be in the description below. So moving on, these are the pieces. This is the red one that I cut the same way. I just wasn't so sure that with the light and the scoring blades that it would show up so well on the dark cardstock. Of course the cuts are all the same, but I just felt if I did it on a piece of white, they perhaps might stand out a little bit more. So same size, 4 1/4 by 11, scored in all the relevant places, and then folded and given a nice sharp crease with the bone folder. Then we have a greeting piece, which is 7 1/8 by 4 1/4, which will eventually go here. I've got 2 side pieces of the designer series paper, which are the piece from here to here is 4 1/2 inches, and as you remember it's 1 inch wide. So this is 4 1/2 by 1 inch, so it just fits on the side. 4 1/2 by 1 inch. That's the greeting. And then this piece for the middle is 2 1/8 by 4 3/8, and that's what sits there. Now if you're a subscriber, thank you very much. I made a card recently, the double box card, and I cut some candy canes out of the designer series paper. So this was the paper. I think this one was the one I used for that. So I just went ahead, because I don't have the dies for this one, but it's a nice easy shape actually, candy canes, nice straight edge and one quick curve. I just had to remember to have them each facing, they do face opposite directions. I just had to make sure the 2 I cut were the opposite direction, so when you cross, you know, they look like you would expect crossed candy canes to look. So this was the paper that it came from, the Sweetest Christmas. This is also a piece of Sweetest Christmas, as is the red and green one that I showed you earlier, which I'll bring back in at the end. So now all we need to do is get these quickly assembled. What I'm going to do though is, when I did, let's bring it in already, I made this and it was white and it looked a little bit plain, so I did a little bit of flat edge sponging along the edge. So let me just take care of that. If you haven't seen this before, it's a sponge that I had, which was a whole one. Cut it into quarters, or you can cut it into 6, as long as you've got a flat edge, because when you're trying to just catch the edge of the cardstock, you want the colour to go on. If you use the big rounded sponge, there's chances a lot more ink will go on the edge that you want. So if you just put a little bit of ink on a flat edge and pull it, you get quite a nice bit of colour, but it's only at the tippy edge. So we'll do the main body, and I'll also do the greeting piece, just because it gives it a little bit of extra for the sake of a little bit of sponging. So there are the 2 pieces, nice and quick and easy. And then what I will do is I'm going to stamp the greeting on using the real red ink to match the real red cardstock and the real red of the candy canes. This is Merry Christmas. It's actually a paper pumpkin set that, you know how I like to plug my paper pumpkins, but this was from November of 2021 and it's got fabulous greetings, and I needed a one that was long and thin like this one. So I dug it out of my little holder, and then I put it onto the acrylic block, and then we're just going to stamp Merry Christmas into there, and that's it. Give it a little wash, and then it just peels off the block, goes back onto a little piece of cellophane that it came on. Ta-da! Nice and clean, put away for next time. So there's the greeting already. And you may have spotted that the Happy Holidays greeting came from the same set. So we got Happy Holidays and Merry Christmas out of November 2021 paper pumpkin. So we're getting there. So what we need to do now is attach all of the pieces to the step. So I'm just going to open it up and put some adhesive on the back side of the pieces that go down the side, the red and white candy canes. Put them from the bottom to the top. Oops. From the bottom, they're the same width to the top, and again from the bottom, so you know it's lined up, to the top. Now I did cut these, of course, the same size. Sometimes you get a little bit of overhang. I think this one has just a teeny tiny little smidger. So what I'm going to do is just cut it off. There we go. Just get rid of that one. I mean, you can see the hair's breadth that I snipped off, but sometimes it just, it's practically nothing, but I like it to look right, so why not? Whoops, this one is perhaps longer than I thought. I've got a bevel. There we go. It's probably going to need another little trim, isn't it? I didn't even have it as high up as it needed to be. So let's snip those off, and then we can attach the Merry Christmas across the bottom. Oops. Once you've got all the pieces cut for this one, there's not really much to do. It's more a lot of assembling. So we'll go ahead and put the base on. with this little red edging. Bring it down to the bottom, and then we just need to attach the candy canes. I'm only attaching them at the bottom because where they overhang, I didn't want to put glue here and it inadvertently stick the card down to itself. So we'll put one here, and of course, even though there's a little piece missing here, this is the size of the envelope, so you can go further up. You don't have to limit yourself to this edge as long as you don't extend the rectangle of the envelope. So we'll pop those on, and then I made a bow. My usual, here's one I made earlier. So here's a little bow I made using the mini ruffled ribbon, which is real red, so it blends beautifully. And then we're going to use one of the glue dots, pop that in the middle, and attach the ribbon. And voila, there we have the monochromatic red version, the red and green version, and they stand up the same. And we also have the blues and whites, happy holidays. So not too complicated. The directions will be in the bottom. I think the most complicated part of this one is getting the scoring in the right place so you don't inadvertently bend a piece that's not supposed to be bent. If you've liked what you've seen, please subscribe. If you ring the bell, you'll get a notification when I've posted a video. But then I always laugh and say if I'm posting a Technique Tuesday, you ring a bell, it's like, oh, must be Tuesday. Alyson's posted a video. I always like to be helpful. And Tuesday, you know, it's the day after Monday. So yay, what's not to love about a Tuesday? So there we go. 3 lovely cards, quick and easy. Thanks so much for watching.